name's Ray Myweiser. I'm interviewing my mother, who's a single parent. Chris Valentine is here with us as well.
I'm interviewing one of my good friends' mom. Hope you enjoy.
Thank you.
All right, can I make a comment?
Yes.
You're putting this all on one video. How are you handing this in to the same teacher?
It could be the same thing.
Oh, okay.
We're-
I just want
we're
to make sure. Oh, sorry. Okay, I just want to make sure it's okay.
Okay. How you doing, Mom?
I'm good, thank you.
How's your day?
Better than the last couple.
All right, good.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad to hear that. How old were you when you met your spouse?
20. Actually, it was earlier than that because we went to the same high school. He was my brother's friend, my brother's best friend.
When do you guys start going out?
When I was 20.
Intriguing. What advice would you give teenagers or couples having difficulties?
Well, having difficulties, first, I would have to say, don't make a marital commitment until you're at least 26, because you really don't even know yourself or life before then. And if you're already invested in a good relationship, I would say that communication is key, and you have to be willing to be humble and compromise.
How do children affect marriage?
Well, if both people want the children, they're the best thing in the world. I know they made my life, my two children made my life the most worthy life in the world. I wouldn't trade it for anything. The hard part is when you have children in a family where one person doesn't revere the gift of childhood as much as the other. So the shared joy is not the same, and that's sad.
Is that your personal experience in your
Yes.
previous marriage?
My only marriage, yes.
Do you plan on getting married again?
Probably not. I mean, I'm not closed off to it, but one time jokingly someone asked Angelica, your sister, why isn't your mom with anyone yet? Because we got divorced. Had been divorced already 8 or 9 years. And Angelica said wisely, she probably won't do anything till we're both already in college. Because she knew I was devoted to my children. And it's hard to devote yourself to raising children, effectively work full-time, and have a relationship and not sacrifice something. And being a mom wasn't something I was willing to sacrifice.
And you feel that your spouse, also known as my father, was not fully into the marriage as well as the kids?
I noticed an immediate difference as soon as we had our first child, which Angelica will never let me forget. I blamed her, but I didn't mean that I blamed her. I meant that the responsibility and the sacrifice that comes with children, your dad and I had very different views on it. I felt the way I was raised was the way children should be raised. They don't ask to be born. It is our obligation to provide them with the happiest life we can, because again, they didn't ask to be born. They're not a burden, they're a gift. And when he saw that we couldn't just pick up and leave on a weekend because we had a baby and I wasn't willing to let our baby be dropped off anywhere, he started pulling away, and I quickly realized that fatherhood did not mean the same to him as motherhood meant to me.
If you could change anything, would you?
Yes, my husband. Just not the children.
I got you. Okay. What is the most difficult thing about being married and also being divorced?
The most difficult thing
And
about
which one do you prefer?
the most difficult thing about being married is feeling comfortable living with someone in a lifestyle that you were used to doing only with your nuclear family, your parents and your brothers and sisters. And now you have to integrate the way you were raised in with the way they were raised, and managing that, and then bringing children into the world and seeing how different you feel about raising them. It was very difficult. Divorce is hideous and horrible. I don't recommend it at all. I think it's the worst for the children. I probably would have stayed in a not so great marriage for my children had I been given the opportunity, because I think it's very important to have a father and a mother on the same tone, on the same team, with the same ideas. That there again, though, if you've got two people that are completely, constantly opposing one another's values, it can make for a very volatile marriage. And when your dad and I started getting verbally argumentative on a regular basis, he decided it would be best if we were divorced. And I agreed, because I knew that he didn't love or respect me, and I didn't want my children to grow up watching that.
What were you looking for in your spouse?
My father, and what my father and mother had. My father loved his children unconditionally, as did my mother. Our most fun moments didn't cost $1. They were playing in the backyard, watching this almost 6-foot big, kind of Buddha-like looking guy. My dad, he had this big belly, and he would do these, not belly flops, but L-shaped dives off the diving board. And just watching him, be willing to smack his butt and legs on the water to give us a laugh, and my mom dancing to Frankie Valli and the Four Tops, and us just all, like, New Year's Eve, there was 8 kids with, 2 parents. My parents rarely went out. So New Year's Eve was literally every radio was on in every room, and we did have a big house. We had a lot of kids. And my dad would set up a video camera in one of the rooms and just leave it playing all night so that we could all go goofball in front of it. And then, like the next day we'd go back and look at it and look at what all the stupid stuff people did in between that no one knew in that room in front of the camera. And it was just fun. It was just always fun. My dad had a special table made so that all of us could eat dinner together, because there was 10 of us. And that was the best part of growing up, always being together.
Do you wish you had a bigger family?
Oh, God, yes. That was, I think, the hardest thing for me to come to terms with my divorce, because I was only 32, and it just wasn't my feeling that I could go out and have more kids with another man. I already had 2 children. My dad had already passed. He knew you were coming. I was 7 months pregnant when he passed, but he knew you were a boy. He was the only one. So I felt like my nuclear family, my now family, was complete. But I always wanted 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls, because I came from 8, 4 boys and 4 girls.
Did my dad want that?
No.
Did my dad want kids?
He thought he wanted kids till he had kids.
And then he realized he wasn't.
And then he realized he did not like the married home life at all.
How important are money, marriage, sex, and similar values, just like religion, in a marriage?
Money's important to exist, but not the most important. Values, I would have to say, is at the top of the list. If you don't have similar values in your marriage, how are you going to raise the kids? Everything becomes an issue. And sex is very important. If you don't have intimacy, you lose the closeness and the bond and that teammanship that says it's us against the world. Even these little rugrats we made that'll team up on us sometimes. And I missed having that.
What is your cultural background, educational background, and the age difference between you and your spouse?
I am Spanish from Madrid, Puerto Rican from Puerto Rico, and Sicilian from Sicily, or Italian, Sicily. But I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Long Island, and what else did you ask me?
Educational background.
Oh, I graduated from Nassau Community College with a radiology degree in X-ray school. I take pictures of people's broken bones and messed up insides, and I find it very rewarding, and I really love what I do.
What advice would you give teenagers?
To listen to their moms. Their moms only give advice because they don't want to see their children struggle through the same mistakes we already made. And to pray, believe in God, because if it wasn't, even though I may not go to church every Sunday, if it wasn't for my belief and faith in God and the support I've gotten from the Catholic Church and Catholic education for my children, I honestly don't think we would have survived so many tragedies that we've had in our life.
And say if Ray was in a relationship, what advice would you give him being a teenager in a relationship with someone?
Remember that woman is somebody's daughter. Treat her with the same love and respect you would expect someone to treat your own daughter. And don't get her pregnant, so don't have sex.
And lastly, can you describe your engagement?
My engagement actually was very romantic, very rushed, and kind of hasty if I think about it. I had been in a 3-year relationship, as was their dad, and we had both broken up from it. And when we got together, I think we were so used to being in relationships, we got engaged in 4 months, which was really stupid, and no, we were not pregnant. We had a 2-year engagement. During the 2-year engagement, I kind of knew we weren't really right for each other, but you get really wrapped up in all these things. The setting of the date, the ring, who you told, and they're so minuscule in the end. I remember the day I got married, my father asked me, "Are you sure you want to marry him?" I probably should have realized then the answer was no, but for my father to have asked me. However, I do believe that God does work in mysterious ways, and if it wasn't for that marriage, I wouldn't have my daughter and my son.
How much does God play a role in marriage?
It is the first role in marriage. If a marriage doesn't have God in it, it's not, I don't think, blessed. I did date someone seriously after your father and I divorced, and he wanted to marry me and asked me if I would get an annulment. And even though I knew I had the right to get an annulment, because an annulment means that one person